All right, let me take you guys through how to get started with the Python programming. We have topic one. We will be going sequential. Yes, please. Yes, so we'll start with the introduction to Python, and so our first topic is introduction to Python, and then I will look at what Python is. Guys, could you mute? So what Python is? Tonight, 9:30 p.m. and repeat. So Python is a very popular programming language. Basically, it's created by Guido Ivan Rossam, who released it in 1991. So it's one of the modern day languages being used in computer science or people who are doing IT. So it's a very prominent language. And why it is prominent and what is it used for? Why do we study it? And why do you think it's important for us to learn Python? One, it's used for developing web applications, web development in the server side, but also we can use it to do software development. We can do software development, but we can also do mathematics with it, but even do the system scripting. So that puts Python at a very good state that we're able to learn it at this point in time. So what can Python do? Python can basically be used on the server, basically to create web applications. But also Python can also be used alongside other softwares to create workflows. How you are able to come up with a number of things in terms of how your work can easily flow in the development environment. Then we said that also Python can connect to database systems. You can be able to interact with the back end of your system. That's the database end where you're going to keep or store information which are logically related. So you can always write, but also modify files on the database using Python. Now, Python can also be used to handle big data or also perform complex complex mathematics that may not be handled by other programming languages, and that's why it's so dynamic to do programming in Python. Now, still, it can be used for rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping is when you want to develop a system very fast, so that there is need for it to be used in the shortest time possible. You can use Python programming to develop such systems, or you can use so that you have nothing to worry about, because for it it's really rapid. You keep improving the system along the way, but Python can enable you do that. So it can be in for production is ready, but also software development. Now, why Python? Why do you think we go in for Python? One is it works on different platforms. You can work with it when you're having Windows. You can work with it when you have a Mac computer, Linux, Raspberry Pi, and etc. So we can work with it on different platforms. And that gives it an upper hand that we'll be able to integrate ourselves in Python. But also it is very simple. It has a simple syntax, similar to English language. So basically when you're writing Python codes, it's plain English. So it's easy to understand, and it's easy to understand the syntax as well. And there is no jargons that being used when you're writing Python programming. You only need the mathematics and the rest will flow. And then the other, it has a syntax that allows developers to write programs with fewer lines than other some other programming languages. So with Python, you can really write very few lines when you're writing these programs or developing a software, coming up with a mobile application development, coming up with the systems of any sort. You really don't need to write a lot of codes to produce an application. So you need to write a few lines, but they really carry a meaning. And then the other is it can run on an interpreter systems, meaning that codes can be executed as soon as it is written. So as you are writing your codes, you can also execute them and see whether your codes are the right codes or they can perform the tasks that you want. And that's very important. And that's why we have to be able to be up our game to make sure we learn this programming. But also remember that this means that the prototype can be very quick, especially when you're coming up with your prototyping, prototyping is like a test program. You are trying to develop a system, but you start with you come up with a prototype. You keep improving the system along the way as it's still in the development stage. So you definitely need to reinvest yourself in a prototyping. Now, friends, it can also be treated procedurally in object-oriented way or in the functional way. I remember when you are studying Python, you do fundamentals, and thereafter you have to get to object-oriented programming. In object-oriented programming, you may find it in another SEM, where you guys may be able to do it as a course unit, where you will expound now, even do the mobile application development using Python, do Facebook using Python, do any applications using the same language. So the latest version of Python is Python 3. It's Python 3. It's being used. And remember, it's being used in web development, being used in machine learning applications, in data science. And of course, data science and machine learning, these are the latest technologies around that we need to be able to know. Now, remember, we learned Python. Why? Because it's used in the latest technologies. IT keeps changing over time. So it's important for us to learn Python and understand that, yes, it takes us to I'm just checking through if there are people who are supposed to join. So along with other cutting-edge technologies in the software industry, Python language is used almost in all tech giant companies. So when you look at Google, the Google UK is used for maybe trying to research. It's being developed using Python. When you look at Amazon, which is a place for selling things, it is also used. It was developed using Amazon, Python. If you look at Facebook, Instagram, Dropbox, Abad, these are all prominent tech giant companies that were developed using Python. So I want to interest you into this programming language that you should venture in and develop your skills and be a better version for yourselves. Now, how do we get started? In this course, Python will be written in the text editor. And when we talk about text editor, it can be Notepad, it can be VS Code, it can be Dreamweaver, it can be Notepad++. That is the development environment that we are going to integrate with, so that we write Python. But also, remember, the text editors, a few of them are brought there. Here, there are like 3, where we have Sony, we have PyCharm, and then NetBeans or Eclipse. These development environments can be used for when you're writing your programs in Python. But the most prominent one right now that we will be using is what we call the VS Code, the Visual Studio Code. It is what we're going to use for developing these particular programs or writing these particular programs. So we'll need the VS Code on our machines, on our laptops that we're going to use, or our computers are going to use, so that we can start writing these programs easily, but also with ease. Well, now you have to get Python installed on your PCs. Many PCs and Macs will have Python already installed sometimes. So if you want to check if your Python is already running on your machine, I will have come along with you. You will go to start to the start menu and look for command in CMD, the command line interface. And now when you have a command line interface, you will have to type Python, and then space, 2 dashes, then you type version. So when you type version, you realize that I have mine Python 3.13.5. So you should also check, you never know. If you have this, it means I already have Python on my computer. So I can go on, it's already installed. If it's not there, you can find, if you cannot find Python installed on your computer, please, you can download it through www.python.org. So just come to these notes and click on this URL, allow. It will be able to browse for you and then download Python, the latest version. Okay, move down. You can download it from here. You see it's 3.13.7, the latest version. But remember, in my command line, I have 3.13.5. So you see we're on 7, but me, I had run the 5. So you click here to download the latest, and then you run it on your machines, okay, on your machines. So so after that, we'll get started. Python quick start. We'll say that Python is an integrated programming language. That this means that as a developer, you write Python, or sometimes it's called .py. So all files will be trying to write in text editor. We'll end those files with .py. Then put the file into the maybe a Python interpreter to be executed. And that Python interpreter is what we refer to as either a command line interface, or we can use VS Code directly to write these programs. So it's very, very important. So when you see here, C directory user, username, Python, then hello world.py. Now here we say where hello world.py is the name of your Python file. Let us write our first Python file called hello world.py. So which can be done in the text editor. So we can do this in the text editor, or our first file can be hello world.py. This can be done in the text editor. Now our text editor, as I said before, we will download via Visual Studio Code. Just come to Google here, okay, and then type download VS Code and run. Now when you run VS Code on your computer, you'll have it here. Even it will be the first one. So you click on this link. When you click on this link, please, you have the one for Windows. You have it doesn't support Windows 7, so we only have Windows 10 and 11. So if you have a different computer like Ubuntu, you can download this one. If you have a Mac, you can download this. So if you have Windows, please click on this link. It will get downloaded automatically. If it doesn't download automatically, you see, mine has already come here. It's located where I should save it in downloads. I click there and say save. It will start downloading straight away. Then I'll run it on my laptop and able to use. So once, because I already have it, I'll not continue the download. Now, once I have it on my computer, I'll just come and double click on it. Mine is pinned here. Okay. Or you will have something like this. Let me close this. You'll have something like this. You see, it is here. You have something like this installed on your computer, and then you run it on your computer. So if I close here, when you open it, it will be like this. The environment will be like this. The environment will be like this. So your VS Code environment will be like this. Okay. So we'll get back here. Now, we are saying that you can write this Python still on the command line. If I want to say print for me hello world, how do I write it? I just come to my command line interface here and then type. I have to first make sure that my computer is already in Python. So I type py. Remember, py is an abbreviation of Python. So if I say py, it will accept that, okay, you have prompted me to enter into Python language. So I can say print, double quotes. Maybe we'll print principles of programming. Should be able to print for me this statement. Print for me principle of programming, and then press enter key. So it has already printed by displaying this. If you make any error here, for example, if I remove one bracket and run, it will give me errors. You see, it is showing that there is something missing. So, for example, if I remove this, it gives you errors, or it will show that something is what? Something is real missing. However, instead of writing them here, we can write it in our text editor after it's open. So what do we do in our text editor? We come here, up here, in the Explorer side here, okay? And before you do anything here, you can first come to your desktop. You can create a folder. Actually, let me delete this. Okay. You can just create a folder, right click, go to new, and create a folder. You can say labs. I call them labs because you're going to do labs. So this folder can be your folder you're going to work with. So you open your text editor, and then you pick this folder, you drag and drop it in this text editor. So when you drag and drop in the text editor, the folder will come here in the Explorer end. So when it comes here, just come here on this plus first one, it's file, the next is folder. So you just click on the file on the addition side and type. Maybe this is your first program. So you say first, you can type first program.py. So when I said .py, it means that it is going to allow me to write programs in Python. Okay, write programs in Python. So if I write my program, for example, I will increase the size. So if I write my program here, I say, okay, print the same program we wrote, print, you see, I want to print principles of what? Programming. So when you print like that, I mean, when you write your program like that, you can press Ctrl plus F5 on the keyboard to run. So you can say either run with debug. So you will see an output in your terminal here. You see, it is able to display for us this output in the terminal. So you can you can print programs as many as you want. We'll look at the rules of Python and see. So you see, I'm typing my, okay, and then I can do this, Control F5 to run it automatically. You see, it's displaying for me this name here as well. Meanwhile, if you don't want to use Control F5, you can come up here. There is run here. You say start or run without debugging. It will run for you down here. Okay, so this is how interesting programming would be. Now, these are the things we are trying out. All this we are trying out. Remember hello world, you can come to your command line or you come to your text editor and print hello world. Print, your first program is what? Hello world. So I have to close. We see when you don't close the quotes, it becomes an error. Then write. Okay, it is displayed here. And then we need to come back and see. Now there are quite a number of things we are going to learn, like Python syntax. Python syntax is just a syntax that can be executed by writing directly in the command line. Now, like for example, remember we had the command line here. Remember we have a command line here. So this command line we already on admin end. So if I said py Python, I enter command and then say print for me, print hello world. Hello world. Close quotes and press enter. You see, this is just a syntax. This is just syntax. It's able to print the same thing you do in your text editor. So you print in the text editor, you get the same thing. You print the other side, we get the same things. Well, then we have what we call Python indentation. Python indentation refers to the spaces at the beginning of the code. So you follow the indentations of any programming language. Now for Python, it is very unique. If you don't follow the indentation very well, this will not work for you. For example, we have something called, if 5 is greater than 2, print for me 5 is greater than 2. Now, you see when we come here in our text editor, and down here, we are saying, actually, we can create another file. Let's create another file and we call it indentation. Or we can just copy this here. We come back to our text editor. And then we shall rename it .py. Don't forget py. Now, we are saying if, let me increase the size a bit. Let's say if 5 is greater than 2 and full colon, press enter key. Okay, press enter key. Print, open bracket, double quotes, print 5 is greater than 2. Five is greater than 2. Five is greater than 2. So when you see this, remember, when you look at this quote, remember we said here, okay? Remember this quote, we said if 5 is greater than 2, you put full colon, okay? But remember here we are using what we call indentation in Python. It is very important. Python uses indentation to indicate the block of code. Now we have this block of code called if 5 is greater than 2, full colon, print 5 is greater than 2. Now, you realize that this one Python will give you an error if you skip the indentation. For example, if you skip and write it like this, it will give you an error. But if you write it like this, Python will not give you any error. So let's check through and see. We have, so you say if 5, actually, if we want, we can create brackets. 5 greater than 2, colon, and then we say print, open bracket, quotes, 5 is greater than 2. And then Control F5 on the keyboard, run. Remember, we have increased this a bit. So you see, it is printing down here. 5 is greater than 2, and that's true. When you look at these things, you realize that 5 is greater than 2. However, if I put 2 here, and I put 5 here, this code will not be executed. So when you run F5, Control F5, it will not be executed. It will bring for a blank space. Okay. But if you put else, okay, you see, the indentation goes on automatically. So when you write print, open bracket, 2, you say 2 is less than 5. and then you print, Control F5. You see? Now it has printed for you the next option, else, meaning it's the right answer. The other one is not the right answer. So indentation is very, very important. And that's why when you write them on the same line, it's an error. For example, if we push this on the same line, if we push this on the same line, it will be an error. You can see these are just now errors. So you have to follow the indentation in Python programming. Very, very important. You have to follow the indentation in Python programming. So, well, in comments explain the line of code. You can comment in the line of code. It's not read by Python at all. So, for example, here we can comment our line of code and say, you just put hash and say, this line explains the indentation. So you are trying to, if someone else come and read if someone else wants to read your line of codes, it will be very easy for him to understand that, okay, this line of code is all about indentation. So we'll be able to understand this line of code very well. And that's most important with trying to comment. So we comment using hash, okay? Or when it's one line, for example, we can even comment this. We can comment, you just put hash here, shift hash. You can say shift hash. You see all these lines are commented. So when you run, this one's not be printed in the command. The Python will really completely ignore it. It will not be printed. And then we have, when you want to comment many lines, you can use hash on every line, multiple lines on any line. Or if you want to comment a whole section, we can use what we call 3 double quotes in the beginning and then we close with 3 double quotes at the end. So when you are trying to comment, for example, if I want to comment from up to down, if I want to comment from here up to down, what I'll do, I put 1, 2, 3, and then I'll finish by commenting down. And when I comment down completely, it will clear the error. It will show that the whole of this code is commented. So it can never be run by Python. That's how you comment in a big way. So commenting in the many lines of codes, maybe you have a whole page, you can comment it using those quotes, 3 double quotes in the beginning and the end, and then the hash is commenting on the line. So take home, please make sure you take home today, learn how to comment, learn how to do indentations, write your first program on Python, do something using the command line interface, and then download the VS Code environment and interact with install Python as well, interact with it, so that we can meet again in the next class ahead. Otherwise, I'll be welcoming questions at this point in time.